This is the village board meeting, Tuesday, July 8th. We'll all stand, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I like the shirt. Guess your
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Present.
Trustee DeVivo.
Here.
Trustee Pujanis. Trustee Sable.
Here.
Trustee Suisse.
Present.
Trustee Yukich.
Here.
Mayor Daley.
Present. This would be D.
That's funny.
Are there any amendments to the agenda? I have one. The staff has informed me that item H2 will need to be tabled until the board's July 22nd meeting because the petitioner is unable to be with us tonight. In addition to this amendment, are there any other amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I have an amendment.
Sure.
I would like to add under old business to discuss the special use at the Cornell Farm pertaining to Earth Day, Arbor Day.
I'll second.
Let's see here. That's under old business, you're saying?
Well, it can be considered old business. It's not a new
Okay.
item.
All right. It's the Kono. One more time on that.
To add under old business to discuss special use at the Cornell Farm pertaining to Earth Day, Arbor Day.
Special use, okay. All right, does anybody have a problem with that? Nope. All right, we'll add it under old business. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? All right, then we'll move along. This would be E. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd, 2014 special board meeting?
So moved.
First by trustee Costa.
Second.
Second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Sable.
Aye.
Trustee Suisse.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This portion of the meeting would be reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'll start it out. As everybody knows, the Myers gas station and convenience store is open for business. This past week, the village again toured the much larger Myers general merchandise store. As you can see from the photos on a large screen, Myers store personnel are currently loading the store in preparation of the grand opening later this month. The first photo is of a fully loaded pet supply area. This area has 6 full aisles of pet food and merchandise. It's like a pet store within a store. You'll even be able to buy fish. Next is a photo of the kids' clothing department, currently being fully stocked with back-to-school merchandise. Next, you'll see the frozen food aisle with staff members loading product into the long line of freezer cases. Finally, here's a photo of a gigantic produce area with the deli and bakery in the background. All of Homer Glen is looking forward to the opening of this important new Myers store, a wonderful addition to the Homer Glen business community. On Tuesday, July 29th, the village has been invited to join Myers for a ribbon cutting ceremony at 10 a.m. I know we all plan on joining store manager Brian Danner at this important grand opening celebration. Under draft professional services and fee proposal. Later in the meeting, under the workshop portion of the agenda, Village Manager Davis will provide the village board with a copy and a verbal summary of the draft professional services and fee proposal from Williams Architects regarding the remodeling of the Woodbine Banquet Facility and Golf Clubhouse into a new village hall. Village board members are to forward questions, concerns, or suggestions for improvements to the agreement to the village manager. I've asked Manager Davis to place the professional service and fee proposal on the board's July 22nd agenda for actual consideration. A representative from Williams Architects will be available at the next meeting on the 22nd. Also, big thank you goes out to our highway department staff and our very own village staff for the work they have all done in response to the terrible storm that damaged many of our neighborhoods last week. We all appreciate the extra effort put forth by those involved in manning the phones and cleaning up the landscape debris created by the storm. As a reminder, the powerful storm that moved through Homer Glen did result in downed tree limbs and branches. As promised by the Highway Commissioner DeVivo, the Homer Township Highway Department is removing brush from this storm that is placed out on the curb for collection. Residents are to contact the Highway Department at 708-301-0246 to schedule your brush removal. This free program will expire at the end of the day, Monday, July 14th. Then finally, there's been a lot of concern about the relocation of pickup at the post office. So for the record, I'm going to read the letter that was crafted for Postmaster Keith. I believe it's S-A-H-S, Dear Postal Saz, greeting from the Village of Homer Glen. Recently, several Homer Glen residents have expressed their concern to me about a change that has been made at the Lockport Post Office. In the past, when a package could not be delivered to a Homer Glen resident, that resident drove to Lockport Post Office to pick up said package. Now, apparently, a significant change has occurred. Homer Glen residents who travel to Lockport Post Office to pick up a package are now told they have to drive to Romeoville's post office to pick up their package. This change has, I'm sure you understand, caused significant inconvenience and concern to Homer Glen residents. The Romeoville post office is, as you know, considerably farther away, miles away, from a majority of Homer Glen residents than is the Lockport post office. For a community of almost 25,000 residents, this is, again, a significant change and hardship. I would request your answers to the following questions. 1, who ordered this change requiring Homer Glen residents to travel so much further to Romeoville Post Office for package collection? 2, how can this change be reversed, and who is the exact person that Homer Glen residents can appeal to get this significant change reversed? And 3, what was the reasons for this significant change? I appreciate your response to the above questions. The village has always had the utmost respect for the Lockport Post Office. I'm confident that this problem can be resolved so that your postal customers in Homer Glen can be more effectively served. Respectfully, Mayor Jim Daly. And that concludes the mayor's report. We'll start out with trustees. Trustee Costa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe Trustee Yukich is going to give a report tonight on the fest. As everybody knows, we had our fest a couple weeks ago. But just a few words. The fest, in my estimation, I think everybody's opinion, it was a very good success. The weather held off for us. We were right between the window of rain and severe thunderstorms, so that really helped us out. But just like to thank everybody that attended, and again, Trustee Yukich is going to give more in his report about it, but with the residents supporting the fest so much, and also our businesses and all the volunteers, that's what makes it a big success. And also, Mr. Mayor, for our next meeting, the 22nd, I have a business meeting that night. I do not feel I can make it to this meeting. I'm sorry.
Let's see here.
I know it's an important meeting, but
We're going to be missing another trustee, too.
Yeah, it's an important
Trustee
meeting,
K.
but-
Janice won't be here.
I get one time a year, and it falls on the fourth Tuesday of July each year.
With it being an important meeting like that, would everybody like to move the meeting? I mean, there's only going to be 4 trustees here of 6.
We can do 4.
It's up to you guys.
We can do the 4.
Cam, how's your schedule for your workshops and what have you?
I might have to get back, but I mean, are you talking about just delaying the discussion
Yes.
with Mr. Ludwig till maybe the next meeting? Is that
Yeah.
your thought? Well, we can adjust things. We can move things around. I think we were going to have a workshop on, gosh, I can't even remember what the next workshop is, but we can just move it up.
Okay.
We'll switch them around. If Mr. Ludwig is available, we'll have to contact him and ask.
Okay, so everybody okay with moving one meeting back? I think everybody
Where
goes
would
back
the
in town.
date be?
It's,
I think it's August,
it'd be August 5th or no. It's the second Tuesday.
May I make a suggestion?
go ahead.
What about, is scheduled for Wednesday, the Wednesday, the 23rd?
Wednesday, the 23rd.
Well, you know, if we can look at our calendars, if, you know, pushing it back 2 weeks
Yeah,
for that meeting, you know, we could look at that too, maybe, I don't know.
Why don't, first of all, Cam, why don't you reach out to Mr. Ludwig and explain the situation? Several trustees will be missing, and see what dates are available for him. Okay.
And that's also true for the consideration or proposal for Woodbine would be on the 22nd.
Yeah, that's just the contract for, Williams Architects.
That's just his contract, it's not the approval of the drawings?
No. Oh, no.
No,
Okay.
we don't even have it. As far as I know, there's,
So I will contact Mr. Ludwig tomorrow.
okay, great. All right, then, do you have
all,
anything
Mr.
else?
Mayor. That's all, thank you.
Trustee Yukich, then?
Thank you, Mayor. As Trustee Costa was saying, the carnival, festival, everything worked out very well. Mother Nature was great to us from Thursday through Sunday. A little bit of a rain Sunday at 1:30 to 2 o'clock in the morning. All the bands worked out perfect. The carnival did very well. It was, they hit new records this year. Food was great. It just was a huge success. But one person, our committee is phenomenal. Our committee works very hard. We have a lot of meetings throughout the year, and when the carnival does come up, we are basically working it from the time the sun comes up to the time, well, many hours after the sun goes down. But without one person and one crew of people that work for him, I don't believe the festival would have gone off, and that was Commissioner DeVivo. What he did was phenomenal. He basically pulled everything together, got us out of the water, and the festival was a success from there. So for him, I want to give a special thanks, and also a special thanks to the rest of the committee, because everyone else did work very hard. And we're looking forward to next year. That's my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Yukich. Trustee Sabo?
Okay, reporting for the Environment Committee. On the first topic is tree replacement. The Environment Committee is investigating, studying, and developing a tree replacement program for the Village of Homer Glen's road right-of-ways. This will include replacement of ash trees and any other trees deemed necessary for removal. The recommended tree list will be expanded to increase the number of suitable trees for the parkway plantings. And stargazing. The Environment Committee wishes to acknowledge the exceptional coverage of stargazing event at the Trantina Farm on June 22nd that was provided by the Homer Horizon. And we thank other newspapers for also promoting the event. The next stargazing will be held on October 17th from 8 until 10 p.m. Homer Glen Lands Day. The Community and Nature and Harmony Award deadline is July 25th. We encourage people to nominate an individual, business, group, or community organization who has contributed to preservation, restoration, beautification of land within the Homer Glen community, and awards will be presented in September at a board meeting. National Public Land Days is in conjunction, or Homer Glen Lands Days is in conjunction with National Public Lands Day, and they both are celebrated on Saturday, September 27th. More information and an application can be found about the Community and Nature and Harmony Awards on the village website. And the second part of Homer Glen Lands Day is tree planting, so more information will come out about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sabo. Trustee Suisse?
Thank you, Mayor. As a reminder, the 7th Annual Homer Harvest Days will be held on September 6th and 7th at the Trantina Farm. The event will feature food, live music, old-fashioned entertainment, children's activities, living history, and pioneer demonstrations, a petting zoo, pony rides, antique tractors, hay rides, as well as unique craft vendors will be present. Our committee is seeking individuals, groups, and organizations who will share their knowledge as living history reenactors. Our committee also welcomes people who can demonstrate farm activities and the day-to-day skills of rural life that have been lost to modern technology. We are also seeking volunteers for this event. More information can be found at the website, homerharvestdays.com. The email address for information, questions, or to submit applications is homerharvestdays@homertownship.com. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Suisse. Trustee DeVivo?
Thank you, Mayor. No report other than just to remind everyone that the 19th at 11, from 11 to 1,
is the dedication of Erin Hills Park, so we look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee DeVivo. Is there a treasurer's report tonight?
No treasury report, Mayor.
Is there a clerk's report? How about anything from the village attorney?
No report this evening.
Are there any task force chairpersons that'd like to say anything? Okay. How about public safety officials? None? How about the village manager?
Mayor, just a couple items. First, at your next meeting, I'm going to invite Elena Bose to come to the meeting. She is the one that actually helps me with all the ABCD stuff and gets stuff on plaques and everything, so it'll be kind of hard for me to surprise her since I have to have her do a few things for me on that. But she is ending her time, right? Her time that she's been putting in these past couple years as being a staff liaison to our festivals, and has done yeoman's work. A lot of staff members volunteer their time, which is great, but Elena goes above and beyond. There's no doubt about that. So at our next meeting, we'll be recognizing her for that, and then I'll say some more nice things about all of her good work at that time. I think that Joe Baber has a update for the mayor and the board about the RV storage, some communication that we're going to be sending out to the residents. So Joe, you want to come up and give the board an update?
At the last meeting, we were given direction to enforce the boat trailer RV ordinance. What I'm going to be doing next week is sending out a letter to the residents that were currently on our list from the fall survey we did around the community. We're going to be sending out these residents a letter just notifying them that they'll have until September 1st to come into compliance. And I want to distribute to the board that letter, that draft letter, and if you have any comments or anything, let me know and we'll take a look at it.
Very good.
Thanks, Joe.
I'll also be putting a copy of it in my weekly report, so you'll have an electronic copy too if you want to review it. Like Joe said, we're not going to distribute it until the middle of next week. So if there's anything in the letter that it's always good to have, a few more eyes on a letter, especially one that's going to go out to several hundred residents. So if you have any suggestions, please get back to Joe. I know he'd appreciate it. Also, Mike wants to report on a meeting that was, I think, just held yesterday. Right? Today. It seems like yesterday. On construction projects. So, Mike, go ahead.
Today at the Homer Township Highway Department, they held the pre-construction meeting for the 2014 roadway paving program. One of the things I just wanted to bring up to the board is that actually they're looking to start the work probably at the end of this week or early next week, and they'll be anticipating starting in Glenview Walk or Cypress Point, one of the three non-LLC subdivisions. Those will be where they're going to be starting the work. So weather permitting, that work will be starting, like I said, at the end of this week, early next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Finally, I just wanted to really just thank the residents in town for their patience in terms of power outages and branch pickup. And commend the staff for really stepping up to the plate for several days when we had maybe 4 people answering phones at the same time because we were getting quite a bit of calls in. Residents were great, very understanding. ComEd, we had daily calls with ComEd, daily updates. I provided some updates to the board through email. And also, we put up some signs just to assist the highway department because the highway department's website is down being reworked on. And so we put up some signs around the community directing people to our website so they could see how they had to set out their branches and things of that nature. We have received a number of calls from people that have, I just wanted to make sure that they weren't forgotten. It takes a long time today and yesterday, it takes a long time to work through the community with so much brush. So I know that Mike DeVivo and his crews are working through town, and it will take a little bit of time to get to everybody, but everybody's being pretty patient about it. So, Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you. That concludes reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. Joe, we have anybody tonight? Next portion of this meeting is public comment. Okay, the first speaker will be Colleen Wyatt. Is it correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to say until I was just waiting here.
Well, this is your portion of the meeting to make any comment you'd like to make.
Okay, then I think I'll pass.
Okay. Cataline Conway? Caitlin Conway? You want to say anything, Caitlin? Okay. How about
Donna.
Donna Belts?
Yes.
Betts? Name and address for the record.
My name is Donna Betts. I live at 14015 Lamont Road in Homer, Glen. Now, first of all, let me introduce myself a little bit about my background. I'm a trained humane investigator for the state of Illinois. I am an animal welfare professional. I've worked with dogs for 30 years. I'm a retired trainer and behaviorist. And I run an animal shelter, a little-known animal shelter that's right here in Homer, Glen. I've been around for 15 years. And I have a lot of concerns about this dog ordinance because I've heard very little about it. I found out about it on the news, the Channel 5 or one of them. I'm not for or against it. I just wonder if all of you really know what you're doing and are thinking this through. Have you brought Will County Animal Control into this? Have you asked them if they're willing to start investigating these sort of things? There was a letter from a law group attorney who said, with a record of unjustified aggression from taking a second bite. Does that mean we have zero tolerance? What are we going to do if a dog bites? And who decides if it's unprovoked? A pet owner? You know how many pet owners I talk to who say, I didn't do anything, I don't know what happened, the dog just bit me. All I was doing was this in its face. Well, I'm sorry. Or all I did was stare it down because I wanted to know who was in charge. All of those are aggression to the dog. So whose rules are we going to play by in this law? Dog rule or human rules? I just wish that whoever is working on this ordinance has some background in animal control. I just want you guys to think about it. We do have to protect ourselves from vicious animals and their owners, because they wouldn't be vicious if it weren't for the owners.
Thank you. Okay, the next speaker would be John Coy.
John Coy, 12056 Venetian Way. I talked to the township because the village's bike trail goes from Parker Road over to Yankees Park. I wanted to mention the day before yesterday I went down there because my grandson hangs around with a young boy that lives in Derby 1, and it backs up to where the creek runs behind his house. And he said, or asked, why is he getting so much more water in his backyard? So 2 days ago I went down where the water runs from Wilcook Road to the first crossing with the double culverts. The one culvert is totally blocked up. Water will not even go through it. The second culvert is half full of tree branches and rubbish, so that's blocking the water. And I didn't go there today, but you know, we didn't have that much rain last night. But if we get anything bad while I'm home along there, are going to be flooded. So I would really check into it.
Yeah, I'll have Mike Selmovich look into it. Thanks, John. Okay, yeah, Mike.
Yeah, we have actually a meeting scheduled for Thursday with the company that does our maintenance, so those are the things that we're going to be discussing, extra work that we need them to do.
That might be one of those situations where when we have these unusual storms and what have you, you might want to check that point because it's important to get that box culvert to work correctly.
Definitely.
Okay. Next speaker would be Ben Benson.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ben Benson, here as a representative from the City of Lockport. I'm the City Administrator. I also brought with me our Chief of Police, Chief Terry Lemming. This is in regards to the Lockport funding request in regards to a Lockport police officer being in the Lockport High School. And, you know, in the spirit of intergovernmental relations, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Daley and city staff, especially Mr. Davis, for putting this funding request in his budget and also putting this item on your agenda for a vote. I mentioned relations because we're a partnership. We actually just passed a funding request with the city of Crest Hill on Monday night, where they'll be contributing about $5,000 to this program. There were past IGAs back in 2006, I think, through 2010. I think Homer Glen had contributed as much as maybe $20,000 to $25,000 during that 3-year period. And I'm not sure what happened between 2011 and 2012. I wasn't there, but our annual expenses on a police officer in the school for those prorated 9 months is about $95,000 a year. So in the past, that was about a quarter of the expense. We worked with the schools and staff to determine a better percentage of population for students in the high school. And we find this to be about 15%, so that's how we kind of came up with the $15,000 funding request. It seemed sensible, equitable, reasonable. Our costs go up each year. It was $95,000 back in 2010. It's about $98,000 currently. It'll exceed $100,000 next year. So your contribution would certainly help us and be appreciated in providing the officer in the school. I do have Chief Lemming with me this evening. If it's okay with you, I'd like to have him come up and talk a little bit about what a police officer does in the schools. Chief Lemming, before he joined Lockport last year, was actually Lieutenant Colonel of the State Police for 25 years.
Chief, you want to just give us your name and address for the record?
Terry Lemming, Lemming, 1212 Farrell Road, Lockport. When I got this job, Ben didn't tell me that I have to come to other city council meetings as well, but happy to be here. Our officer, basically his job is to maintain a safe environment for all students that go there. So whether they're speeding in the parking lot, whether it's a violent crime, theft, any type of crime at all, he'll handle it from beginning to end. And 20 years ago, we never really thought about having a police officer in the school, but I think you all know that right now it's of vital importance, police officers in the school. The school shootings that have happened throughout the nation, the offenders pick the school by whether there's an armed police officer in that school or not. And if there is an armed police officer in the school, they choose another school because they can't fulfill what they want to do if somebody's going to stop them right away. I don't want to have an officer in the school. I really don't. But I know it is vitally important that he's there. We could put that officer to other assignments, which are important as well. I don't really want to put an officer in the school, but I know that's very important. And I know today you're going to vote on whether to accept this $15,000. And if you vote no, we're still going to protect the Homer Glen kids that go to Lockport High School. But I want you to know that I don't want to have an officer in the school either, but we have to do it in this day and age. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben, the history on that, so you know, is that the hesitancy from the village was that three villages basically attend the school, Crest Hill, Homer Glen, and Lockport. And at the time, the reason for the change was that Crest Hill decided not to make the contribution. We felt that it was unfair that certain villages were and certain villages weren't, you know. So that's the history of that thing, but we'll see how the vote goes tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we have Jean Olowinski. I know, Jean, I said that wrong, but Olszewski.
You know that by now. Hi. Okay, the dog ordinance. I wish I would have been coming to the previous meetings. I have so much information, I could be here for hours.
Please don't.
Well, you know, you can't pass this on to you guys.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. These are people that have been killed, not just mauled. My God, if I had the statistics for all the maulings,
we need to pass it out.
These were killed last year.
Right.
These little marks are people that I personally know the families of. Ruth Mulder was killed by her family pit bull that 4 years old. She managed to get the grandchildren.
Is this just one master copy, or are they all?
This is just from all in, this is just from
Okay.
last year.
Okay.
You know, I've been following this whole thing from the beginning. I didn't know about it till I saw it on the news and that. And even if you go on the Fox 32 Facebook page, it's the same garbage. It's how they're raised. It's how they're treated. It's this, it's that. Well, no, it's not. We have different breeds. I used to show dogs. I've been to dog shows. When you go, there's different groups. You've got the herding group. You've got the toy group. You've got the working group. You've got the terrier group. You've got the sporting group. Different breeds are bred specifically for hundreds of years to do a job. We use, what's the best, if you're going to use a herding dog, what are you going to get? A border collie, most likely, or an Australian cattle dog. What do police use for tracking criminals? Bloodhounds. You're not going to use a collie. We use, a lab is just going on a retrieve all day. A hunting dog, if you get a pointer, finds a bird, goes on foot, and stands there. We're not training these dogs. We work on them, we encourage them to do their job, but it's bred into them, okay? Fighting dogs have been bred as fighting dogs. That's what their job is. That's what they're good at. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. John Colby, back in the early 1900s, when he was breeding pit bulls, and they go on and on how, well, the man biters were culled. Well, no, his own pit bull killed his nephew, and he continued to breed that dog. Genetically, he continued to breed it. Even in 1945, you can read the newspaper articles. You'll read, the men, the dog fighters, they had those dogs chained in the middle of the kennel, cemented in the middle. So the dogs could only go around. They came and fight the dog next to them during the dog fight. And the women and children were never allowed near those dogs. Okay, this has been going on. The dog fighters know this. This whole garbage of save the world. We take these dogs from a dog fighting situation. They're doing a job that they enjoy. No one is forcing them to do it, okay? They enjoy doing what they're doing. You can watch any dog fighting video, and that's what they want to do. They go right for the throat. I'm passing around papers. These are people killed last year alone by pit bull type dogs. These are people, a lot of them I personally know, okay? Well, just last week, July 2nd, a woman in Steger was attacked by a neighbor's pit bull. A friend of mine sent me the text. I have it on my phone. She says, thought you'd want to know. It's her fiance's sister-in-law's mother. She was walking a neighbor's yard in Steger. She hears two little girls calling for their dog, trying to walk their pit bull, turns around, and that pit bull sighted that woman and wanted her. Took her down, started biting, attacking her. The other neighbors came down and got the dog down. She was in the hospital for days. And
Jean,
said it looked like blood clots.
we need to wrap it up. We get your emotion and what side you're on.
So the thing is, and I know the ordinance, we're not doing a breed-specific thing. All these people, they go on and on, you want to do breed-specific. A vicious ordinance, the problem is, years ago, everybody knows, when you got bit by a dog, pretty bad, it was put down. Now we're allowing these dogs to kill other people's pets. We're allowing these dogs to just run up to people, tear them apart, and we're giving them back to the people to do it again. When that dog killed, like the one dog, the picture I showed you, Betty Todd, that dog killed their family husky a few months before, and then it went and killed the mother, okay?
Okay.
If that dog killed that dog, and it's allowed to stay there, those children will be next. That dog's going to see that child run out that window and go for the throat and rip that child apart.
Oh, Jean, you need to wrap it up. That's the purpose. Thank you. It's the purpose of why we're looking at a possible dog ordinance, okay?
The majority of people do not understand the magnitude of this problem.
I think we get it. We see it on the news all the time. Thank you. All right, that concludes public comment. The next portion of this meeting is legislation and action items. This would be H1. Is there a motion to approve the City of Lockport's request for a contribution of $15,000 from the Village of Homer Glen to support the cost to employ the Public Safety School Liaison Officer at Lockport Township High School in 2014 through 2015?
So moved.
First by Trustee DeVivo. Is there a second? Okay. I'll ask once again, is there a second?
I will put the second in for discussion.
Okay, we have a first and a second discussion. I'll give you my own opinion first, and we can go from there. I definitely agree with the chief that I'm not happy that we've gotten to a situation in this country where you have to have police officers in the schools that are armed. But we have seen some horrendous situations as a result of basically no first responder, teachers trying to hide kids, this, that, the next thing. The problem, one of the things that I see is that Lockport is a extremely large populated school, and I think it definitely warrants a police officer. I go back to the history of it. This village did participate in this program for quite some time, and it was established prior to my administration. But when Crest Hill opted to not pay their fair share, that was the reason why the village opted to opt out of the program, I believe a couple years back. It seems to me like they have a pretty good formula for figuring out what portion of that entire portion would be Homer Glen's. Now, if I have it correct, the school actually pays, what is it, 50% of the, Ben? Is 50% of the cost of this officer. And $15,000, in my opinion, to have an armed officer there to add some protection in the event that something crazy happens. I think it's well worth the money. So I open it up for discussion. Go ahead, George.
All right, a few things. You say it's broken down into the three, basically cities, so it's going to be Crest Hill, Lockport, and Homer Glen. You have Homer Township and you have Lockport Township. They're not getting charged on it because they have no one to go to. This village is taxed to the hilt. The school pulls a lot of money. For anyone who lives in Homer Glen, most of their tax bill is a high school, or the grade school, middle school, but it's the schools. Why doesn't the school pay for it? The whole idea here is you're taxing us to make sure the schools are good, you have good teachers, and safety. If the school wants a police officer, which I unfortunately feel the same way, it's a necessary evil. But taxing our people is not the way to keep doing it. Let the school pay for it. That's what we're paying all the taxes for, is to send your kids to school to learn and to be safe. So if it comes before me, I would vote no. And if it's not the $15,000, it's the principle behind this. Every time you turn around, they're taxing us with something new and something over and over. And you said 95,000, it's going up to 100 and some thousand? Oh, you can hire a security company that could be armed for a lot less money than that. It's just, when's it going to stop with the taxes?
Okay.
I have a comment, Mayor.
I have Trustee Costa here.
I agree. Chief, I think everybody, well, at least myself too, I agree with you. I think having an officer on staff there and on the grounds is a big plus, especially when we see the news with things that are happening on school grounds and public buildings and malls and everything else. I also agree with Trustee Yukich. I feel, the school district is a taxing body. Our residents pay high taxes. I think 83% of our taxes, if I'm correct, go to the school districts. I think this school should pay for this. And also the unincorporated areas. If you're going to, come out and get everybody to throw in some money in the kitty, then go to all of the taxing bodies, go to the townships also. The people in Homer Township, in our notice here, it says that sizable share of the school's population is from Homer Glen. We agree with that, but the sizable share of your income comes from the residents of Homer Glen too. I think that the school district should be paying for this. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Suisse, I believe you had something to say.
Thank you. I have the same sentiments. It is a necessity, but I don't understand why it's not put into the school budget when this has been reoccurring for so long. Sandberg Andrews pays fully for their SROs. And so that's my opinion.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor?
Oh, excuse me, Trustee DeVito.
Just a comment. I think it's imperative that we have police in the school. I really do. I think it's not just something that we talk about once in a while. We absolutely need to have police enforcement in the schools, and because of all the things that have been happening. I don't know, I mean, what is the solution to this? You end up incurring, there's policemen is still going to be there, right?
Yes.
Lockport will end up paying for the rest of this. Is that my understanding?
Correct. Just a point of clarification, the school does have another officer that they pay fully, as well as the 50% that I'm proposing that they pay for the Lockport officer. So if this village board decides not to make the contribution, for the safety of the officer in the school, the city of Lockport will bear the burden for that full salary, or for that full portion. We did receive the $5,000 from Crest Hill. I like your idea about the township. I didn't think about that. I'm probably approaching them next. Don't know what their funding levels are or when their budget time is, but we're asking for a contribution to the city of Lockport, not to the schools. This check does not go to the schools. It goes to help fund an officer's salary. We feel having a uniformed armed officer in the school is an additional blanket of security being provided to those students and those families.
Don't misunderstand me. I'm not asking you as Lockport, because it isn't fair that you should pay the bill either. The whole point is if you're going to charge for it, everybody should pay for it.
Okay.
If the problem with, you're charging Homer, and there's a lot of people in Homer that don't even go to Lockport because they're not in that school district, but they're still being taxed for it. My point is the idea of the taxes. The school, they levy their taxes. Like Trustee Sweet said, you know what, budget for it, because you shouldn't have to pay for it either. Either should Crest Hill. I mean, stop and think about what you pay. I know what I pay here in property taxes, and it's just a little below 20 grand a year. And 81, like you said, 81 to 83% of it goes to the schools. And that's just for the grade schools and high schools. You have most families that are working class. They still have to put the kids through college. We don't get any help there either. The taxes are they're ridiculous. Pretty soon, we won't have any money. Everyone else is going to have it. So I don't think it's right there either. But look into the township, for Homer and for Lockport. Let everyone pay their fair share. And like I said, don't misunderstand me. It's not the $15,000. $15,000 to save a life is pennies. It's the principle behind this. Every time we turn around, you get taxed.
If I can get additional contributions to the school or from the township and increase, is it something I can bring back in the future?
Yes.
Okay, so then why don't we go with this then and give you the proper time to talk with the township and Lockport Township and maybe table some.
Table it for right now.
Yeah. Okay, so is there a motion to table?
So moved.
First by Trustee Costa.
Second.
Second by Trustee Yukich. There is no discussion in a table. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion is tabled. Okay, thanks for the information, Ben and Chief, and keep us posted where you're at, and we'll get you on the agenda right after you find out those answers, okay? Thank you. All right, then, let's see here. The H2 is been tabled, so we would be on H3. Is there a motion to approve a contribution of $500 to the nonprofit South Suburban Housing Center to assist in their implementation of the 2014 Fair Housing Enforcement Home Ownership Preservation and Housing Counseling Programs?
So moved.
First by Trustee Costa.
Second.
Second by Trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I have a comment.
Go right ahead.
Coming to the board next time, probably next week, is going to be a contribution request that was not on it this time from the Will County Center for Community Concerns. And they provide Homer Glen residents with direct client assistance of at least $36,000 in 2013, utilizing over 70 services. My feeling is that we should take this $500 and support more towards them who they do direct assistance to our residents. The South Suburban Housing Center does something similar, but what caught my eye is that it says these assistance or help with mortgages, these providing funds directly to families in eligible communities. We don't even know if we're eligible because a lot of the chart is from Richton Park. A lot of the people that have contributed, not people, villages, I'm sorry, Sauk Village, University Park, South Howland, Flossmoor. So I feel that an organization like the Will County Center for Community Concerns does much more for us directly, and I think we should put that towards an additional contribution.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mayor, just real quick, just a point of clarification. I agree. I think they're both good organizations. We are in the service area of this organization, just to let everybody know. Now, we've never promoted this organization because we're not a contributing member, and we just never promoted them, and they haven't promoted themselves heavily up this way either. What they're trying to do, and I'm not so much speaking for the organization, is just providing a little clarification. What they're trying to do, I think, is broaden their outreach, okay? They admit that they do not have a lot of municipalities that contribute to their organization up this way. They're trying to broaden their outreach. That's what this is about. And I think the other item, I know the committee asked for a little bit of additional information about the other organization, so I think that other organization's item will be going back to Administration and Financial Services this month.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Costa?
Mr. Mayor, you know what? I think that anytime we can offer service like this for $500, it's a good idea. I would probably support, I believe now, I would support the other organization also. It gives our residents two options to try to get help in their time of need.
I agree with you.
And this is something that would come up once a year, am I correct?
It would, and what we're hoping to do with our new website is provide just one page that would be easily accessible with information about housing programs for people that might have fallen on hard times. And so if, obviously we would promote this organization, we'd also promote the other organization. I think whether or not we're members or not, we probably should put the information out there for people to see. But that's our intent with the new website, to do that.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo?
No.
Trustee Suisse?
No.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion carries. All right, this would be H4. Is there a motion to accept the proposal and approve a contract with how do you say that, Mike? Copenhagen Construction, Gilbert's, Illinois, for Phase 2 of the 2014 Homer Glen Works Stormwater Drainage Improvement Program in the amount of $297,729.
So moved.
First by Trustee Costa.
I second.
Second by Trustee Suisse. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please go right
Just had
ahead.
a question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. On page 4, it says from the CIP bond fund. So are we talking about the bond fund? Or are we talking about capital?
Right. Stormwater improvements, yes, it's out of the bond fund.
Okay, thank you.
So budgeted, it was all budgeted.
Right.
Okay. Any further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, where are we at here? This is, yeah, we're H5. Is there a motion to recommend approval of the proposal from HR Green for construction engineering services related to Phase 2 of the 2014 Homer Glen Works Stormwater Drainage Improvement Program in the amount of $22,300?
So moved.
First by Trustee Yukich, second by Trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, that concludes legislation and action items for tonight. The first workshop item is a discussion regarding proposed amendments to ordinance number 07-041, an ordinance regulating the control of animals. As you see, it's commonly referred to as the dog ordinance. A draft ordinance has been distributed to the village board. I will let village attorney Mark Sturk lead us through the draft ordinance and then answer the board's questions.
Okay, we prepared a memo that I think fairly summarizes the amendments to the dog ordinance. Right now, whether a dog is a dangerous dog or a vicious dog is determined by Will County. And for whatever reason, I think it was the recent dog attack in town, we were directed to prepare an ordinance so that the village could take over the function. The ordinance that's before you does just that. And what we did was we took the Will County ordinance because that's what everybody is familiar with, and I'll explain why that's important in a bit, to characterize or to define a dangerous dog and a vicious dog and how you get to that definition. And the way that determination is made is by the village manager, you're welcome, Cam, or by the manager's designee. The characteristics for a dangerous dog and a vicious dog are outlined. This version of the ordinance, and again, this is not an ordinance for adoption, it's just the ordinance for discussion, bans both dangerous dogs and vicious dogs. As I pointed out in the memo, if you adopted a ban on dangerous dogs, you would be an anomaly because no one else bans, to my knowledge, no one else bans dangerous dogs. However, a lot of towns do ban vicious dogs. And I think that that's well worth, that to me would be well worth considering. And then I included an explanation of what of the confinement and restrictions that are on a dangerous dog when the dog is off the property.
Okay, I just open it up for discussion. The village attorney is here. He's done some homework on it. And if you have any questions for him, fire away. Trustee Costa?
Mr. Mayor, yes, on page 3, where it says vicious dog, any individual dog that's unprovoked, that bites, attacks, human being, or that. Then on page 4, number 4, it says any individual dog has been found to be a dangerous dog upon 3 separate occasions. So
right.
Is that saying then that if a dog is, somebody complains about a certain dog, a person's dog, 3 times, and it's deemed dangerous dog, then after the 3rd time, the dog automatically is considered a vicious dog?
No, because the determination of whether the dog is dangerous has to be made by the village manager or the manager's designee.
Right.
So it's not just, okay, he threatened me once, he threatened me twice, he threatened me 3 times, he's automatically a vicious dog. It's that somebody complains that they were, that they were challenged by a
Right.
dog but not bitten, and then the village manager would have to conduct a hearing and say, okay, that happened, that's 1 time, that's 1 strike against that dog.
Okay, so
And
then
if
after...
it happened again, then the manager's would have to have another hearing to make that determination, and then a 3rd time. And after the 3rd time that the dog, presented a challenge to somebody, threatened to bite someone, was not exempted, then the dog would be determined to be a vicious dog.
Okay, so then on page 5, just for clarification, on page 5, on A, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly maintain, house, or permit any dangerous dog.
Right.
Well,
That's right.
But yet, on the page before that, it says if it's deemed dangerous 3 times, it's vicious. So isn't it a contradiction in the ordinance? That if a person...
That would be, right.
Yeah, so
Right,
that would
and like I said, that's because when we prepared this, dangerous dogs are not prohibited.
Gotcha.
Vicious dogs are.
Okay, so then there's a possibility then that if this is considered by the board, that we could change the wording on the dangerous dog, saying that a person
That's why I gave it, that's why I gave you the language.
Okay.
Okay, Trustee Yukich, go ahead.
Okay, I have a bunch. First of all, love you, Cam, but he shouldn't be the one that determines who's a dangerous or vicious dog. It should be Will County.
That's
the Animal
correct.
Cruelty Society, or Animal Control. They know it. The one thing that that we've talked about it and people have brought it forward is you're telling someone to do something, has no idea what he's doing. And again, no offense, but
No offense taken.
it should, Will County should be the one that does it.
Which is what happens now.
Okay, but we're changing it to the village manager. Even if there's a fee, the fee goes to the person whose dog bit whoever it was. We shouldn't be charged for anything of it. So let's put it in the hands of professionals. Second, this is very vague the way some of the stuff is written for dangerous dogs and vicious dogs. I have a nephew that has 2 pit bulls. They are angels. As Ms. Betts said before, it's not so much the dog as the person that owns the dog. So are we saying that if it is a vicious dog or it is a dangerous dog, considered that, are we banning that breed?
No, you cannot, unless the law has changed in Illinois recently, you cannot have a breed-specific ban on dogs. So you can't say pit bulls are banned. Although there are some towns that have breed-specific ordinances.
Yeah. Well, Chicago just do with pit bulls. They don't want pit bulls at all. But again, I want to make sure that, and this is on the record, we are not trying to ban a specific dog. 9 times out of 10, it is the owner that is not doing what they should be doing. And also, like Ms. Betts had said before, sometimes a dog bites because it's been teased or something. You get the kids, because you know what? When I was a kid, I wasn't exactly an angel either. You find a dog and you chase back and forth on the fence, you take the stick and kick, and the dog chasing back and forth. Well, you know what? I think those dogs remember who the hell you are.
Yeah, well, I guess that says a lot, but, you've had the county, Will County's performed that function for you for the last 13 years.
Okay.
Okay, and it was, it was one incident that occasioned this.
Right.
All right, so, whether you have the ordinance or don't have the ordinance, is for all of you to decide. And I didn't put it on the village manager's shoulders, I put it on the shoulders of the village manager or his designee, so that he would say, okay, we need to have a veterinarian or someone else that does this, but, you're going to incur a substantial cost in doing that.
Okay. But even
Right now, everything is done by Will County.
Right.
I don't believe that you can pass an ordinance telling Will County this is what you're going to do for us. They're already doing it.
Right, so we could just keep it the way it is for there, but we can enforce the ordinance that we have. If
You
we
mean
have,
your current ordinance?
If we have an ordinance that says if a dog is deemed vicious, because we're not deeming
By
it
Will
vicious,
County.
by Will County.
Yes.
We have the power to say that dog is no longer allowed here.
Yes.
That dog, just that specific dog.
Right.
If it's a dangerous dog, and I don't know if I like the thing where it says 3 times, because
That's right out of it comes right from the Will County ordinance, and that's typical of other ordinances of this ilk.
All right, well, I just, you know what, sometimes we're in a very gray area, and I want to make sure we're right. They had a thing on YouTube about a little boy that was on a bicycle. He was on his side of the driveway. There was a car between him and the house next door. A dog ran out of the house next door, came around the car, bit the little boy in the leg, dragged him off the bicycle, and started dragging him away. Fortunately, the lady owned the house. She opened up the door, and the cat slapped the dog, and the dog ran away.
Right.
But this is a situation where no one was doing anything to that dog, and this little kid got a chunk ripped out of his leg.
Right.
So all it is if that's...
That went viral.
Okay.
The kid threw out the first pitch in a minor league baseball game.
And what was it, do you know what, I know they put the dog down, but was that dog deemed vicious or dangerous?
I have no idea.
That's something that maybe we should just look into, just to find out what it was.
That was not in Illinois. I believe that was in California.
I agree, but I mean, the whole point is, I've gone, first time, shame on you, second time, shame on me. Well, if a dog bites someone 3 times, it's...
Right.
May I
Well,
make a comment?
it's not a dog biting someone 3 times that makes it vicious. It's a dog being in a threatening posture that makes the dog vicious. So, in taking your comments, a suggestion would be to amend the ordinance to say that if Will County determines the dog to be dangerous, these are the confinement requirements.
Correct.
If Will County determines the dog to be vicious, then the dog has to go.
They currently have, George, they currently have that, because I happen to know the individual that this incident, the owner of the dog. And the dog was viewed dangerous. And then it goes into different things. It has to wear a muzzle. It has to be on, anytime it's out, it's like a stronger chain, whatever. So this service we currently pay for as part of the police contract. We use Will County Animal Service. I don't know, maybe, I thought you were getting around to saying whatever. I don't think you can create an ordinance until Will County's animal control to do it.
And I'm not trying to do that. I didn't want to take away what Will County was doing and saying, here, Cam.
No. They impounded the dog.
Right.
Okay? And they deemed it dangerous. And then, the dog was impounded for 10 days. The dog was, the rules were given out as to what the dog has to have on whenever it's out in public, yada, yada, yada. And if it was deemed vicious, it would have been a totally different situation. This was according to what I understand of the incident, this wasn't a dog on a person, this was dog on dog, and so they didn't deem it vicious, they deemed it dangerous. Go ahead, Mike.
I do believe, though, because I read this report from Will County Animal Control also, I do believe that in Will County's ordinance, and Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that even if it's a dog on domestic dog, that constitutes vicious.
Yes.
So in my mind, if you have professionals at Will County that deemed it dangerous, when according to their ordinance and their actual write-up of what is considered vicious, how did they bring it down to dangerous? And it's not for us to answer, of course. We know there's no one here from Will County. That's what, that's the issue that I have. So that if there's a definition of a vicious dog and the dog attacks a person unprovoked and a dog, and then Will County listed as dangerous when it definitely meets the vicious requirements based on their written ordinance, I would like to know how they brought it down to dangerous, unless there's still an investigation going on, and that could change at a later date.
Yeah.
That's what I don't know.
I can't answer that.
Right, we can't answer that. So if we're going to rely on Will County to let's say, determine if a dog is dangerous or vicious, and then have an ordinance in place that backs up what we would like to see as a community for a dangerous or vicious dog, then I would think that somehow we have to have a meeting with Will County and find out how do they determine to downrate or derate the circumstances of an attack. I think that's important to know, because by definition, the dog should have been listed as vicious, period.
Well, the whole thing is that this was not to be voted on tonight. This is a discussion. So I tend to agree with you that so that the board has a better understanding of how Will County comes up with this ordinance and these two different words, vicious, dangerous, incidences, it wouldn't hurt to have the person standing here explaining it to the board as they tried to make some sense of it. So why don't we put an invitation out, and I'm sure having a very large contract for police services with the county, I'm sure they will gladly send somebody out from animal control.
Yeah, I think the intent tonight was to get the board's feedback on the draft and then to take the next step. And if that next step involved us, staff meeting with them and talking to them about and showing them, we wanted to show you guys the document first and let you guys comment on it before, of course, we send it on to the county. So what we would do, based on your feedback, obviously the village attorney can go back and add language or subtract it as necessary, and then we'll set up a meeting and have a more thorough discussion with them about it.
Okay, I would invite them to a meeting.
And then we could do that also.
Yeah. Okay.
I have
You had
comments
something?
too. Yeah. I believe to answer Trustee Costa now, I'm not sure if I heard correct what you said about vicious to dangerous, how they determined that. I think it was the residents said that they would have to follow certain guidelines, but it has to be always muzzled and leashed, and that way they allowed Will County to bring it down to dangerous. But we'll have to check with Will County on that. But I agree with staff or village should not be involved in determining who is a dangerous or who is not a dangerous dog. That should be left to Will County, because I thought they did a great job with this letter in stating what was permitted to do, what was, a Class C misdemeanor, what becomes a felony. Because otherwise, I think it exposes the village to liabilities for possibly being too subjective, maybe not being subjective enough. So I don't think that portion should be changed. So maybe everywhere in this document where we see the manager or staff, we should just put Will County Animal Control back in there.
I have no problem with that, and I'm sure the village manager would love to see the county take care of it.
Right, what should happen then is if you want to leave it with Will County is just to revise the ordinance and take all that out and say, if the dog is determined to be dangerous by Will County, this is what happens. And if the dog is determined to be vicious by Will County, this is what happens.
Right.
It simplifies everything.
Yeah.
Now, can we, in talking to them, they said that to make people get their attention, can we increase penalties? Can we change part of our ordinance, follow Will County, but then increase penalties? And like for a first offense, it says increase it to admin redemption fee $50. Increase all this so that it does get their attention.
Right.
To follow.
I think that the thing to do is to, now that we have direction from the board, is to get a meeting with the Will County Animal Control people to get a handle on how they do it and to explain to them what you want to do to make sure that it's compatible. We can set that meeting up pretty quick.
We'll do that. We
And
can
then we'll
ask.
report back to the board.
Yep. Oh, okay, perfect. Any further, Trustee DeVivo?
I agree that we do need absolutely to meet with Will County. I do agree also that from the comments, some of the comments that were made, I do feel that it's the owner, and I think that a heavy fine is really what needs to be applied on some of these issues. I know too many dog owners that are very lax with their pets, and their pets are very large animals, and they should not be left running around. So I do agree with that. The other thing that I would really like to understand better when we do have them here is how do they dispose of a dog that they do deem vicious, and that's the last resort. So what do they do?
I believe they euthanize it. Euthanize it.
That's absolutely the...
I believe that's the case. But, like I said, it's much easier to get them here.
Yeah.
Right. You have them do a little presentation on the dog ordinance that currently exists for Will County, and then you can ask them any questions they want while they're standing right there.
Mayor, I have a comment, because I talked to them this morning. They said they are not responsible either because of social media. It goes through the court system and a judge determines that. They do not do that themselves.
Okay, but the judge didn't create the ordinance.
No, to euthanize the dog.
I get you.
Okay.
I get you. All right. Well, we'll invite. Go ahead.
I agree with this. It's letting Will County handle it. I think this is a really sensitive issue. We have to be very careful and to put it in the hands of the authorities and the people who have had experience in dealing with this.
Okay. Well, it always has been in their hands. It's just an incident happened, and then when incidents happen, you tend to focus on them and try to think about, if it happens again and how it should play out and stuff like that. So we'll have the county animal control come out, give us a little presentation on the dog ordinance so we thoroughly understand it and what our options are as far as adding to it, subtracting from it, whatever. Okay. All right, that concludes the workshop on the dog ordinance. The second workshop item is a presentation on the draft professional services and fee proposal for Williams Architects related to the remodeling of Woodbine Building into the new Village Hall and Sheriff's Department substation. As I mentioned earlier, the village manager will provide the village board with a copy and a verbal summary of the draft professional services and fee proposal from Williams Architects regarding the remodeling of the Woodbine Banquet Facility and Golf Clubhouse into a new village hall. Village board members are being asked to forward questions, concerns, or suggestions for improvements to the agreement to the village manager. I've asked Manager Davis to place the professional services and fee proposal on the board's July 22nd agenda for actual consideration. A representative from Williams Architects will be available at that meeting on the 22nd. Go ahead, Kim.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple quick things. So you've made good time this meeting. My apologies that you're probably going to run into a little brick wall with this because the presentation is 22 pages. So I'm going to go through it actually pretty expeditiously. And what I want you to kind of focus on tonight is you're seeing a draft proposal for the first time. So I'm not expecting to get a ton of feedback tonight, or any actually feedback from you. What I wanted to do is Williams couldn't be here tonight because they had another village board meeting that they had to go to, and I wanted the chief guy here because he's the guy that's running our project. But I didn't want it to delay any further, so I wanted to get the draft proposal in your hands so you could begin looking at it. And I just wanted to give you a little information so maybe you could better understand it if you're not used to looking at these kind of agreements. So that's what we're really talking about tonight. So they will be able to be at your next meeting, which is great. Now, you may be able to approve a proposal at your next meeting, or there may be additional changes that are needed. You'll certainly be able to have a conversation with them at your next meeting. And if it happens that you're not able to actually approve it because more changes are needed, then we can do that at your following meeting. So I don't want anyone to feel rushed by it. That's on the one hand. On the second hand, I will tell you that Williams is actually doing on their own, by their own volition, not by my direction, they're doing some work already. They've gotten plans and they're looking through them and they're doing measuring and stuff like that. So there is actually some work that they're doing, which I think is great that they've started doing that without an agreement. But having said that, I want to hand this out. So there is a PowerPoint on the top that kind of summarizes what's in the proposal, the draft proposal, and then a copy of the draft proposal behind it. And like I said, even though mine is 22 pages, I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. So I'm going to have to be looking down because I brought the wrong reading glasses today. So if there's some question that you want me to address, just kind of, Mayor, if you could, just is it okay if they just kind of blur it out? Okay, that's great. Thank you. All right, so the agreement, first of all, the agreement is drafted by Williams with a number of changes by me based on my experience with previous municipal renovation projects. And those changes mostly deal quite a bit with the number of times we're going to see Williams. Their initial draft maybe had lower numbers in terms of maybe lower inspections or a lower number of visits with the staff committee about schematics and stuff like that. And I've increased those because what I've found over the years is that you almost never have enough meetings in the base agreement. Also, they have prices on here for services, and their prices have been adjusted from the first draft proposal that they gave me. But I will just tell you that I continue to work with Williams on further adjustments on pricing. And so you can certainly see the numbers here, but let's hope that a couple of them are lower the next time that we see the document. All right, so there are 5 underpinnings that kind of underpin the whole document. And these are things that actually we already communicated back and forth with Williams during their interview, a lot of these things. And Williams basically took those and recap them. I did not really involve myself in these 5. So they know that this is a new village hall and sheriff's substation that's to be built in the renovated golf clubhouse and banquet facility, and that the village is not currently anticipating any addition to the facility. So there's no addition planned, and that's not a part of this proposal. So the village expects to utilize this as a village hall for quite some time, although there may be a time in the future where it gets repurposed for another use, which we of course talked about during their interview. And so they're acknowledging that as one of the 5 understandings, and that when they go through and they look at the use of the building, they will always have in their mind that at some point maybe this could be a recreational facility, or at some point maybe this will be a community center. So they'll always have that in the back of the mind when they're doing their design work. So scheduling, they know that the goal is to begin remodeling this winter, okay, after we take control of the building in January of 2015. And as was discussed during their interview, when they brought up LEED certification, they of course recommended to the board that we not pursue that based on cost very hard to do in a remodel versus a new building. And so those are kind of 5 understandings that underpin the whole proposal, and they've put them right at the very, very start. And then there are 9 categories to the proposal, and it might seem a little voluminous, but there's a program that you go through when you start a remodeling project, just like at home, right? You have to figure out what you want to do. You have to figure out the budget. You have to do some estimating. You got to pick out the different backsplashes and floors and stuff like that. You have to look at the systems, heating and cooling. So the same thing has to happen with this big building, and so that's why there's 9 different categories. And those are existing conditions review, and then the needs assessment, conceptual planning, schematic design, design development, construction documents, basically the developing of, bidding, the bidding process that we would go through with their assistance, then construction administration, as the remodeling is happening, their assistance with administering the construction. And then there's a section on services that will cost extra from the provider, which they talked about during their interview and are reiterated in the agreement. So I don't know that I want to read through, as you can tell, I'll just fast forward here, these pages, there's a lot of content. You'll have it on that you can take home with you with the agreement. But I will like to highlight a few things. So existing conditions review. Basically, what they're spelling out in the proposal is that they're going to look at existing drawings. They're going to go on site. They're going to do their own measurements to make sure that they're consistent with existing drawings. They're going to have conversations with Mr. Ludwig, if he's willing, and whomever else he thinks would be beneficial, to provide them with information about how maintenance has been handled on the facility so that they understand, especially with the physical plant. And then at the end, what they're going to do is they're going to report on the type and conditions of the building and materials and the systems. They're going to provide a report to the village board, to all of us, that gives their overview of what the existing conditions are. And they discussed that and said how important that was, if you remember, during their interview with the board. Okay, then a needs assessment. And during a needs assessment and on the actual document, it goes into great detail. On my PowerPoint here, it's summarized. But a needs assessment, there's 3 steps. There's initial step, intermediate step, and then the final step. In the initial steps, they propose to meet with our staff committee and review data, project schedule development, customized questionnaires for staff to fill out regarding space needs. Now, I've talked about this in my reports to you about what the staff committee is, but I just want to remind you, it involves Scott from the building department, who's really our chief staff person on this. He's our inspector here, our main inspector here in the village, along with Joe. So he's been involved all the way through from the very start and will continue to be. He plays a very important role on the staff committee. Elena, of course, is in charge of all of our computers, all of everything that we, use electronically in this village, and copy machines and everything. Elena is in charge of all these things and has a great working knowledge of them. So she's been very valuable on the committee already, and she will remain on the committee. Heather is on the committee. Heather is taking on the responsibility of all village documents and files, and just her general knowledge, of course, of operations as being a long-term employee. Kathy, who greets everyone on the phone and in person, is vital to the organization, and Kathy is on the committee also, and myself. So we have 5 members on the staff committee. They've already spent a ton of time on this project. I've had them out visiting other village halls that the architect has worked on, and some that the architect hasn't, to get ideas. And they're formulating ideas already that they can share with the architect. In addition, they're charged, each of them has someone or a couple people that they have to go back to and talk to and share information and get feedback from. So I think Michael is Heather's, I think Scott talks to Joe and Doreen and John. And so they all have people that they're assigned to go back and share information and get feedback on. So that's the initial steps. And one of the important things about that, if you remember, Williams concentrated on this these customized questionnaires that they had developed over time. And the reason for the asterisks there is because I want to know, one of the things I need feedback on so I can make sure it gets in the agreement is whether or not the village board wants to also receive the questionnaires and have the opportunity to respond to the questionnaires so that the architects can see your feedback. So Mayor, if you could poll the board, I'd like to know if that's a desire of the village board.
Is that what the village board wants?
Oh,
or
definitely.
do they want something else?
I think that'd be interesting for us to take a look at.
What they are is they're several pages long, and they basically ask questions about what you would like to see in the village hall. And for staff members, they might ask a few more specific questions about specific responsibilities that they have and things that they do on a daily basis. And is there something where you get up and have to travel to every day that if you didn't, it would save you tons of time and things of that nature? If for no other reason, I think it would be good for the board just to see the questions that are being asked of staff. If you wanted to fill them out and provide your feedback that way, you could do that. If you don't have to. But if you do want to, I need to put it in the, I need to add it to the proposal.
Yeah,
So-
why don't, does everybody want that added so that you can see the questions being asked of the staff and they have some type of input?
If you want to, you
Trustee
could do
Costa?
that.
I do have a question. I'm just thumbing through this again. This first time we're looking through this. I really like to read it better, but I'm counting here 20 or 30 meetings, and all of them involve staff, all the way to 50 and 90% of planning and budgeting.
Right.
The only time this board is going to see it pretty much is when there's a plan. And I don't think that's right. I'm sorry.
When it comes back, though, there'll be multiple plans. Maybe let me get farther in, and then you'll maybe be a little bit more comfortable with it.
I think it'd be better if we got a chance to read this whole thing. There's a lot here to digest tonight.
Right.
And if we try to go through it, like I said, if you just go page by page, they're going to have 8 meetings with staff, 6 meetings with staff, 25 meetings with staff. Then they'll bring at 50 and 90% budget and planning and concept. Then the board is going to take a look at it. I think we should, pretty much then what's going to happen from when I'm just glancing through these many pages is that the staff is going to design the village hall. It's going to bring back to the board to modify. Is that the concept of this
Actually,
whole
the
process?
intent, well, if the board wants to have hands-on involvement in it, then we probably need to revise it. And but what our intention is to bring choices to the board, okay? Never to bring just one choice to the board. So if you look, well, let me see here. If you look on the next page, let's see here. Okay, so when they bring, it's not so much with the space program process, but when they actually have designs, which is probably later on, you kind of thrown a question at me that comes pages later. The board gets multiple designs, okay? The board doesn't get just one design. I didn't think that that the board probably wanted to be at meetings during the day here at Village Hall, working one-on-one with the architects on how big an office needs to be or how much space we need for copy paper and stuff like that. So a lot of those kind of decisions are coming from feedback from the board, from the staff, because we're here on a daily basis and we deal with it every day. The choices in terms of the layout of how the building will look, there'll always be at least 2 choices for you to look at so that you can say, you know what, I like this flow better than this flow. There'll be choices for you. You won't be coming in at the end where there's just like one choice and you have no option. That isn't the intent.
I have a comment.
So,
Well, I think with the meetings, maybe a listing of when they take place and what it's about, in case someone on the board is interested to sit in and listen in. I think that would be a good idea to have it listed.
I have no problem with that. The only thing we have to be careful of is just, of course, making sure we don't have, too many board members. I think my intention on this whole process as we go through it is to kind of add, or maybe not add, but use one of my pages of my weekly memo to just focus on what's happening that week or the next week in terms of the building renovation process. And then, so you'd be getting that, the week before, and if you wanted to participate in something, then you could do that. The trouble is you would just have to let me know so that I could tell you, oh, wait, Trustee Suisse has already called me, or Trustee Sabo's called me, or Trustee Yukich, or someone's called me, so we wouldn't want any Open Meetings Act problems. But I have no problem with that at all. That's absolutely fine. The more involvement, the better.
I know you wanted to get this in front of us, but I tend to agree with Trustee Acosta that there's an awful lot of reading to do here to muddle through it and make our recommendations and our questions to you and you know, you're the go-between between Williams and the board. And, you know, I mean, we're just seeing this, so.
Well, I'm just trying, I think if we talk about it, it's better than not talking about it. If you just want to read it, read my comments on this and then read that document, we can do that too. I'm just, you know, there's always stuff that I learned that are good, like the comment that Trustee Costa just mentioned, and that I think Trustee Suisse came up with a good solution to that, maybe. But I just want to let Trustee Costa know that the idea is not to bring a finished product and say, okay, now you can change the color of the carpeting from green to blue or whatever. It's to involve the board, but maybe not in the detailed minutia, you know, like I mentioned earlier, size of office spaces and stuff like that. What you will get is big picture stuff, and I'm kind of going off the script, but when they come, after they do the review, you know, the questionnaires, the discussions, the measuring, here, they get to know the one-on-one conversations with the staff about what needs are and stuff like that. They will put together a space plan and tell you how much space they think we need at Village Hall for current staff members and for growth. And then you'll be able to see how much space remains in the building for potential other use, you know, community use and things of that nature. And you're going to have those dialogues with them. So you'll be able to say, okay, now why did you do this? Why did you put this much space? We'd actually like a little bit more space for the public. There'll be a dialogue back and forth. It won't be like a finished product and you won't be able to adjust anything.
And I think everybody,
I really want to make,
I'll get to you in a second, George.
Yeah.
The whole thing that we have to understand is that this is not the first Village Hall that Williams has built, or any one of the 22 that interviewed in the RFQ process. So, I mean, you're going to be kept abreast all the way through this thing. Like I say, they're going to bring conceptual ideas to you, to bounce them off you to see, you know, what you think. And that's why there's a lot of meetings, and some of them will be during the day that staff will handle and relay messages to you that this is what they're proposing based upon space needs, because of this, that, the next thing, location. But this is just the, you know, first volley at it with a lot of reading to do. I know, George, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. And I do understand this is not their first Village Hall, but it is our first.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, like Trustee Suisse had said, that you have a couple of us that, you know, I know I talked to Trustee Sabo about it, and I know her plate's full. Trustee Costa has a hard time getting out from the job. So I don't know where Trustee DeVivo stands and Trustee Suisse, but I do want to be involved in it. I would like to be a part of this thing going together, because at the same token, we're also watching out for the village. Now, one of the village trustees, and we don't need 2, 3, 4 of them there. If it's something special, we call a meeting and then we have it at the spot. But I believe that one of the trustees should be involved, rather than just, like Trustee Costa said, rather than just staff. I have no problem leaving my business whenever I need to make a meeting. And I think that we should have at least one more trustee that can fill in if something does happen.
The problem with today, can you have 2 trustees and the mayor?
No.
No, I'm not saying at the same time, Jim.
You can only have 2 elected officials at any meeting.
Okay.
Without giving notice of it and treating it as a public.
But that's what I'm saying. If we had a third, just in case something came up and someone's out of town, whatever the case might be, the other person would, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly the way we did the RFQ process. I sat on it, Trustee Costa sat on it, the village manager, Scott, who else? I think Joe Baber was in on some of it. So, yeah, I have no problem having a trustee be on it, and even rotating trustees as people can make it or not make it. You know, but we can't violate the Open Meetings Act, and we can't have a special meeting for every single detail, because we'll never get it done.
And I agree there too.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Because I think where we're at, Cam, is
Well, you're not going to act on this at your next meeting, I just let you know, because there's a lot of questions that I had for the board in this presentation I need feedback on. So you certainly can take it and read it, and I'm glad that I gave it out to you so that you have time to look at it. But there's a lot of questions, so we'll probably have to have a workshop with Williams, and your actual acting on it will probably have to be delayed till August then, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's pretty hard to be asking questions when we haven't read it.
Well, that's why I was going to inform you about it and then give you more information. But if you want to delay it, we can delay it.
Well, if you think it's going to be helpful, go right ahead.
Well, there's maybe a couple things. How about that? How about if we move all the way to the back? Let me let's focus a little bit on the stuff in the very back. But I just want to reiterate again, Trustee Costa, since you asked it. This will be like my third municipal renovation project. Never done one where I felt like the elected officials, I could give you people from CARE you could call, that they felt excluded. We always try to do an inclusion thing because it doesn't do any good if we get all the way through a process and then the village board is unhappy with the outcome. You know what I mean? So the goal is always to include, not to exclude. I just want to make everybody feel comfortable with that. Okay, all the way at the end, and I know we didn't number them, but if you could count them out, it'd be page 19. I think it's the first page that says fees and costs. Okay. Actually, we're going to back up before that. It's the first page that says services that cost extra are owner supplied. This will just help me kind of define the agreement a little bit more. So every architect will always give you a list of things that are not part of the basic fee. And when we did the proposal, when we asked for the preliminary kind of idea from the architects, they all had things listed that would be extra. All right, so this is not out of the ordinary. So you see there, like number one, they're saying, well, if you want zoning approval assistance, we can help you with that. Well, obviously we don't, that's nothing, we're not going to need help with that. If you think there's going to be multiple bid releases, which we don't expect, then that would be an extra charge. So I put not expected because I don't feel like we're going to have multiple bid releases. Now, one of the things that we are going to probably, staff is recommending that we need assistance with is record drawings done on CAD based upon contractor provided markups. So that's an item that we actually feel that we need their help with, and it's not a customary charge that's included in the base price. They also, of course, always list, as every architect will, that providing work associated with change orders that are not as a result of an error or omission, of course, is an extra charge. That's just understood. They also, it's very common for the design of low voltage systems not to be in base prices of architectural agreements, although we are still discussing this, Williams and I. So they're asking if we want their assistance with design of phone, computer, radio, and other low voltage systems, low voltage alarm systems for staff and things of that nature. Staff thinks that we do want their assistance with that because we're trying to create this coordinated project, not trying to use multiple different vendors for things. But one of the things that we have to do is we have to maybe negotiate that fee down a little bit from what it currently is. Then they're saying that if we need environmental or lead consulting and testing, they are available for that. They're, of course, available for cost estimating, and you'll see in the agreement, and Trustee Casa, this is one where you could really help us with. We really would like to keep a very tight control of the cost estimating for this project so that the board is constantly aware of where we're at in terms of how we think, how much the project is going to cost us. So it is a service that the architectural firms will provide separately, or they can say you can go out and find another cost estimator. We're suggesting that we would like to work with Williams on that. Again, we're talking to them about money, something that I particularly would like your feedback on when you look through. Interior design and furniture inventory and design, we're recommending that we do have use the service of Williams on that. Again, all of the architectural firms had that as a separate add-on. We want their assistance with picking out surfaces, wall coverings, things of that nature. Site surveying, we're not going to need. Soil testing, if that's necessary, off the property will be, our staff is recommending that we'll have to use a separate vendor. And so those are some things that I just kind of want you to pay particular attention when you look through. There are a couple of those things that are additive services that we'd like to include in the final document. When you're looking through, if you could pay attention to those, that would be great. So all of the architectural firms that we talked to had a base fee percentage, and they ranged. When they gave us their original estimates, I believe Williams was 7.4, I think, to 7.9. They have settled on a 7.8 number, so it's not the highest at the top. It's a little bit under. 7.8% of the construction cost. Now, they know, because it's in our budget, that we've budgeted $2.2 million for the project, and they're saying that they would like a minimum basic service fee of $170,000, which, if you do the math, does not equal out to 7.8. It's a little bit less. So, and then you see the basic. You'll see in the agreement, or in the proposal, the basic services that are a part of that lump sum payment. The conditions, needs, and assessment is separate, and that was pretty similar to the other engineering firms. You see that at $18,000. And then on that next page, you see a number of things, including cost estimating, interior design, furniture design, selection, bidding, handling. They would handle all that stuff. Installation, they would handle and manage all of that. So you see the fee associated with that. And then you see the access control for the low voltage stuff at the bottom. We don't need any inventory of existing furniture. They all offered that, but that's not something that we feel that we need. And then the 1.10 multiplier for reimbursable expenses was pretty similar between all the architectural firms. We are still negotiating with them about a minimum for that. They're seeking a minimum based off of the $170,000. I'm seeking a lower minimum than that. So we're still having that discussion. And then the very final page, you have the people that are committed to the project. Those have not changed. Just wanted to underline that with you. Mark is still the principal. Scott is still the project manager. You met both those individuals. And you also met Carrie, I believe, during the interviews. She would be the design, interior, furniture component of the relationship. So, okay, all I can say is, go ahead and read it and provide as much feedback to me as you can. And we'll have Mark at the next meeting. Maybe do a workshop, another workshop where you can have some question and answer back and forth. Great. But if there's things that you see that raise a concern for you, or that you want to adjust it's best if I know within this week, so that Mark has some time to prepare an answer or to change something before he comes to your next meeting. Okay? Okay, thank you. Yep. I would, like I said, read through this, and as you see all these steps itemized and what have you, if you think there's something missing, take some notes, and we'll have Mark here at the next meeting, and we can ask him, if it can be incorporated. But I would suggest before the next meeting, you get it to the village manager so he's aware. He has basically a master list of all the questions. Okay? All right, then that would conclude the workshop on the professional service and proposal from Williams Architectural Firm. That concludes workshops for tonight. I believe Trustee Sabo wanted in old business, the Cono Farm Earth Day special use. Would you like to explain where you're going with that?
Yes. Thank you. Earth Day Arbor Day is an event that's held in May, and Walter Konow is requesting that Earth Day Arbor Day not be one of his events, considered one of his special events, and I am concurring with that. This evening he was going to address the board, but one of his family members is in the hospital in serious condition, so he could not be here. So that is the purpose of putting it on under old business, to remove the Earth Day Arbor Day as his event. And so I would like feedback from the board on that. He can have two. His other one is the corn maze.
Right.
So maybe real quick, just some base information real quick, and then we can answer questions. So everybody is allowed, all businesses are allowed 2 special events in the village, and historically, the Earth Day Arbor Day has just been considered the first, it's typically the first one of Walt's, so it's considered his first one. It's just direction from the board. If the board would prefer that not be charged against Walt, Mr. Connell, for his special event limitation, then you just have to let me know tonight. Just do a poll of the board. I think that he has an event coming up later this month. Of course, he's going through a PUD process now that's probably going to take a little while. But he has an event later this month that he intended to come before the board and ask for a variance to allow for 3, which he did last year, if you remember. He had to do that last year. If you took Earth Day Arbor Day off the list, then he won't have to do that here at the end of the month. So all you need, Mayor, is just a poll from the board to know if you think it should be removed.
I have no issue with that. Does anybody have an issue with that?
No.
Okay.
Very good.
All right.
We'll just remove it then. He has
All right.
one more to go.
Perfect. Is there any other old business? Okay, is there any new business? All right, then the next item is executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of reviewing and considering executive session minutes?
I so move.
First by trustee Yukich, second by trustee Sabo. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, we'll meet in the mayor's office in 5 minutes.